The Ricky and Robb Podcast Show, part of the Coach Robb Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Ricky and Robb. Got the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. RJ himself. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good. Had a great wedding down my co-driver Victor and his beautiful wife, not fiance anymore, got married, Karen. If you've ever been to a Mexican wedding, they are off the chain. They know how to party, and it was a 3-day affair down in Rosarito, Mexico. So Steph and I got to get away. I actually got to relax. It was first time, you and I have been going back and forth with my Garmin, my stress levels. So I woke up this morning, my sleep level, my recovery was at 54. My sleep was at 54, so I'm doing good. I know it's supposed to be up in the 70s and 80s, but I'm getting there. Baby steps,
For
baby.
you, that's an improvement. We'll take it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to watch the race in Mexico because it was on Peacock. I couldn't see it on my phone. But I watched it yesterday, and lots to talk about. Unadilla was crazy rough, and part of that is everyone runs that paddle tire. I think they should get rid of paddles. If nobody has it, then what's the benefit? It makes the track not as beat up, and anyways, my opinions are like rear ends. Everybody has one. I have one, and that's what I think. Anyways, let's get going.
Well, here's the key to that comment, right? That's what we love about being able to just bench race. That's like you say, everyone's got a tail end, but not everybody wants to see it. But we've got a pretty good following going on, and do appreciate all those that send us nice messages and comment. We deeply appreciate it. But it's not one of our topics of conversation, but did you like Unadilla when you raced it? Because I thought the track was absolutely spectacular with the elevation changes and, my goodness, rut cross. I mean, I've not seen ruts. I mean, we've seen ruts before, but they're like in yards. They look like they're 100 yards long and deep as all get out. Was that the same way when you were racing it back in the day?
It was a different track. It was a similar layout.
Yeah.
They had the off-camber tree turn. They changed that to a down and a back up. They had some other stuff that made some more. It was more Europeanish off-campers, but they didn't grade it. They would just plan it, and so it was just really soft. It was a much softer racetrack. And when we went out, there was grass. Like you'd have grass stains on your hands, and you couldn't see because the holes and stuff. The grass would kind of all grow to the same level, across here, but the holes were up and down. So you think, oh, that's a smooth uphill. And it's like, whoa, you go in these big holes. And it got really chewed up, and then the grass would get in there, then that would keep it going. And it was just a lot. It started out as a GP race, and then we would also do a Trans Am race at the end of the year. So that was typically muddy. GP race was somewhere around July or August. So similar to this time. But the Ward family does a great job. They work their ass off. They're second generation. They were always really good to me. They're always really good to the riders, really good to the spectators, doing everything they can because they had the rowdiest spectators. I mean, they had to put up like what you bury people in the concrete because they were burning down the crappers. They burned down the announcer tower one year. So just those crazy, they're descendants from the Woodstock people. So you know what happened there. If you don't, if you're a little young, go to history, look up Woodstock. Anyhow, so it was very passionate crowd, very crazy crowd, and the Ward family does a great job keeping that track awesome. And it was. I thought this year was better than last year. Last year seemed a little harder, but what I like about it is it's tricky. It has some hard sections, and there's a lot of once it breaks down, there's rocks under there, and that's what gets slick. You'll see the guys lose their front wheel all of a sudden. You're like, it's a giant rut. What's the problem? If you watch JT's thing after, you look in those ruts, there's rocks. Yeah. So you have this paddle tire to grab soft dirt, and now there's rocks all around it. It steps out on you one way or the other, and that's what was biting guys.
I was gonna say, I think the way that you just described it, I think that's what took down Casey when he was leading. I think that's what took down Bo Mayer early in the first. I think it's what got Hunter towards the end when he got it. What a horrible place to get high-sided off of, right? Come up and over that roller, and you're 90 degrees sideways. You're like rut row.
Do the math. He
Uh-oh.
high-sided here
Mm-hmm.
and he landed down there. So that's not what they're talking. I mean, high-siding is one thing and
Yeah.
going bang. I think when it high-sided him, it threw him out.
Yeah, it
And
pitched him.
he landed in the banners and off the track. He's lucky he's not hurt severely, you know.
Well, I think his bike was not, obviously his bike wasn't doing too well afterwards, because you see when he got on it and then he went to ride and it just tucked again. And I'm just like, yeah, poor
It
dude. It's
was
just,
it was completely sideways. And
yeah.
the harder thing is emotionally
Mm-hmm.
what he was going through. Just like, oh my God, if I could just take this moment back. and And JT has been having some good things during Jason Thomas during the
Yep.
race, saying different things. And he said, I mean, it's almost like I know that JT's going to think, oh, I'm jinxing him, but it's just you're pointing out what we're all thinking and you're saying it. That's good reporting. But when he said, if he just stays in second, they split the motos. It's a thing. It's good. He just can't lose his cool and go crazy. And when all of a sudden you've been, like Prado said, I was 20 some seconds behind and now I'm 5. That's great success,
Yeah.
which that is. But then all of a sudden you're racing with your brother. You guys know you're light years ahead of everybody. And here comes Prado, passes you, then almost then passes your brother. Now they're going back and forth. You're thinking, oh, I got to just go, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking, oh, I'm going to lose 2 points to him, blah, blah, blah. You start doing the math. You start doing the
Yeah.
math and you don't worry about what happens. And sure enough, man, you see him lose it, then all of a sudden, and you don't see the impact and all that. But tough deal. But yes, the track was awesome. They did a great job. I think if they got rid of paddle tires, it's not going to eat the track up quite as bad, and it'll make the ruts a little better. And if nobody has a paddle tire, then what's the advantage? Make the other tires better. Make a gap. So make it so that the opening can be this wide and the knobby can be that tall. And that's it for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a new tire, a works tire, or whatever. And the other thing I'm gonna spit it out there is once again, the guys are coming into the first turn too fast. We see cameramen almost get killed this weekend. We saw guys go on. We're seeing the first turn dictate the race. That we can't have that. We can't have, why the guys are doing everything for the first turn, And so like when we used to race in Gainesville, it was sandy up top, but the rest of the track was hard pack. And if you ran a sand tire there, you got eaten up there. So you just had to chance it. And everybody ran an intermediate tire. But I would think if it was now, guys would go, I'm just running a sand tire to get a whole shot to get out there and set my pace. So two things. We got it. I think that, and I'm redundant, and people could tell me I'm stupid. I don't care. We need to get rid of the paddle tire to save the track. We need to get rid of the whole shot device to slow these guys down. All right. So why are we spending all this time qualifying and then lining us straight up? The guys who the guys who are the top 10 should have a slight advantage. A slight. I'm not talking get them in line like F1 and all the different stuff. The first turns are the gnarliest thing in motorsports. I mean, coming in the first turn in F1, yes, you're going 200 miles an hour, but you're lined up, and then maybe one or two guys can kind of come in and go. But when you go into it with 40 guys, 40 best guys in the world, 40 best guys in the country, and they all want the whole shot, and now they all have whole shot devices, electronic fuel injection, and they're coming at you. Bad things can happen. We have to slow them down a little bit. And I know the people that make the whole shot devices and make a lot of money on those whole shot devices, but it's time to evolve back to something a little more simple and slow the guys down and more technique and more separation as they come across, because now the guys are so far forward. They hit the map on the bike, they hold it wide open, and it's timing, and they just dump it. And so they can dump it so it comes in, feeds it perfect. And like I watched that I put a video of a slow motion video of Jett. And I had one start like that. I had one start.
Your whole career.
Literally my whole career. I had one start where I floated it down to the first turn. And I was shifting and doing my thing, and I'm just like, all of a sudden it starts to get like a knuckleball effect. You're like, whoa, and then boom, and then come into the first turn. But you're seeing a bunch of guys doing that now. But that was a lot of him. I mean, the way
That
he's
video was
like
unbelievable.
it was.
I watched it like 5 times because, like you say, you're just waiting for the wheel to touch and it doesn't. And then all of a sudden the ground kind of goes away as he drops down into the first turn. You're like, oh my gosh, that is like poetry.
Probably going 75 when he puts the wheel down.
And I'm always concerned, because you've got a still wheel. It's like it's like when you're wheeling a BMX bike. Once that front wheel stops, it's really And then when it does hit, like you say, you've got the rear wheel going 80 miles an hour and the front wheel's completely idle. And I was just like, I literally watched that video that you posted. I was like, dude, I mean, it's just perfect. Goes right over the gate, never thumps it, so nothing disrupts the frame. It's just perfect right up and over. Yeah. Like
it's a thing of beauty. That's why I put respect.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
very much. All right, let's get on with the show.
Well, while we are talking about Jett, that's our first topic of the conversation, right in line with what you're saying. I think it's interesting that Jett, even when he's injured, and you notice how the conversation isn't as much about Jett being injured. We know he's not 100%, but he's walking better on it. We still know he's not 100%, but we're not tossing around percentages anymore. Oh, he's at 72%. Oh, he's at 80%. It's like Jett says, every morning when I wake up, it's stiffer than heck. I'm sure you can relate to this with your wrist, right? It never feels like it's going to get better. But if on his worst day, we get to see this type of riding, it's like you said earlier, the Lawrence brothers, I'm going to use your words, are light years ahead of everybody. We saw some breakthroughs with Prado. Prado looked really good. We obviously have to talk about Hunter taking himself out. I don't think that Hunter shit the bed mentally, do you? Some people are saying he's cracking mentally. I'm like,
so the rear end came around. You're coming through there.
Yeah.
And what I think happened is he gassed it a millisecond too early and came around, and then it went to wash, and now you have to correct, and then it dabs and it throws him just real quick that way. Any other turn on the track, he would have went, but here he goes. He floats down the hill, and then the back end comes around furthermore, and then he hits in high sides. So
and then he's got an elevator drop of, what was that, 70 feet? I mean, it seemed like it was a long fall.
And how far he fell, and that's the thing people aren't looking at. They're going, oh, he tumbled. I think he got ejected. So now if you do the math, he's basically falling, 20 feet in the air down to here. He luckily that it's on a downhill, not to a flat, but anyhow, with all that. But let's back up.
Yep.
When it comes to Jett, the moto I don't think Deegan tried to take him out. If you watch it, Deegan comes in and it steps and it shoots him over.
Yep.
I would say the same thing as Jett did. The little bastard tried to cut me off. I don't think he meant to. I honestly don't. I thought Haiden was riding good. I still think Hayden's bringing the same hammer. I'm listening to him. He's doing that 100% throttle, and then you listen to the Lawrences, and now you're listening to Prado, and they're smoother on the throttle. He's blasting the middle of the berms. As I said, I talked with Brian about that, but he's got his riding coach. But I didn't think. Let me back. So Deegan, I felt his bike looked terrible in the first moto. His front end's too active. If everyone goes back and watches it again, watch how much his front wheel moves and watch how he lands and it kind of bounces. It looked like they made some changes in the second moto. I was calling Brian and giving my suggestions. If they listen to it or not, it's like he says about people watching him. I just want to see him. I want to see Prado and Deegan. I want to see him racing. I'm a racing fan. So if I could see something to help Deegan, I'm going to say it. If I could help Prado, I would help him. I don't want to be a riding coach. I don't want to go to the races. I don't want to be Johnny O'Mara. I don't want to be whoever these other guys are, Swanepoel and whoever these other coaches are. No offense, coach, but I don't want to be that guy anymore. But I do want to see racing, and I see holes in it because I'm racing trucks. I'm manipulating suspension and all the different things. So with that being said, I feel they made a couple changes for the second motor for Deegan, and he looked better. I feel that kudos to Jett. he charged his way back, did a phenomenal job. Great job for Hunter, was smooth, did everything that he needed to do. Second moto, Jett did what he needed to do, but now you throw in Prado, and now all of a sudden, wait a minute, are we just off? That's what I'm thinking the Lawrences are thinking. We must be doing something wrong instead of he's doing something right. And so he just got rushed in the corner and went down. But the thing after the race, and sometimes sometimes I think, this family thing is a bunch of bullshit. Oh, I'm worried about my brother. But you truly saw the concern on Jett. What happened to Hunter? Before he got his helmet off, before
First
he said,
question.
what happened to Hunter? and he was just like, is he okay? And you saw whoever that was come up to him and tell him, hey, Hunter went down, he's out, he's okay, but blah, blah, blah. And then
he
you
just stood there kind of dazed for a moment. You notice that? Yeah.
He's concerned about his brother, because your first thing you're thinking is he hurt and they're not telling me?
Sure.
Because where was he? Because he should be there, and I should see him. And those guys are so aware when they're going around, especially Unadilla, a lot of 180s and stuff. You can look back and you can also look across the valley and pay attention to where the other riders are. And when he saw him gone, he's like thinking the worst. And
sure.
And that's got to be hard, because you don't. I was out there. I'm selfish. I mean, I had a teammate. When I landed on Brock Glover, I was worried about that I hurt him. But when I was racing against him or Stanton or Bailey or anybody, I didn't care about them. I mean, I didn't want anybody hurt, but I didn't.
They're not your blood. That's a different
issue. I didn't worry about them. And you saw that Jett was worried about it. And it sucks because he got the points lead back. He did what he needed to do. He fought back. He fought an unbelievable first moto. He did a phenomenal second moto, and he broke Prado at the end, last couple laps, and pulled away. And then he's up there like this. Oh, yeah, I don't want it like this, and I respect that. He says, I don't want to beat him like this. I want to beat him straight up, and I respect that. But it just happens, that's just part of the racing. So.
If we come back to what you said about Deegan, we'll go back in the order that you talked about him. They said that they added 5 more horsepower to Deegan's bike this week, and on a 450, that just blows my mind that you could just tap into another 5 horsepower like it's no big deal. You feel that the extra horsepower helped or hurt him?
So once again, when Brian and I talked, giving him more horsepower, and that's the thing. We have a whole shot map. So why can't, and I haven't done enough with them, but I know in my race truck, I have 5 maps of horsepower. I have over 1,000 horsepower and over 800, what they call in black. So it goes black, blue, pink, green, yellow, red, that. So I can dial back the horsepower. So when I'm going down the slick roads, I tone it back sometimes to yellow so that I'm not breaking traction as much. And it's also, I can be more aggressive through the corner. So I can dial it back to, let's just say, a 250F when I'm coming around the corner. But then when I get in the big bumps, I need a real explosive power. Then I can go to black. With my thumb, I'm dialing in up and down during the race. Like I said, I haven't done enough with these. I know with the Stark, I can do that. I can take it out at 10 horsepower. I could take it up to 80, while I'm riding. And I can just do. And I look at the little phone on the thing and it tells me what level I'm in and stuff like that. But with these, I'm pretty sure they have a whole shot button and then a race button. So why couldn't you have a max power for the start and then bring it down? I know that they're probably thinking, oh man, the bike's slow and it's this and that. But you got to have rideable power. And if you're coming through the thing and you're going, and you're revving the bike and then dropping it, you're losing the drivability of the fuel injection and all the stuff that you have going on. So
because I was curious to get your opinion, because I was, like you say, the what they used to call it, they call it the wall now. It used to be called screw you or something. I may have that backwards. I mean, you watch those bikes come out of that bottom, like you said, they drop down and then they make that left-hander. And I'm like, okay, did they go to the 5 horsepower to try to win the drag race up those? Because again, props, the venue was absolutely beautiful. It looked like a golf course. The green was so beautiful and the elevation. But yeah, just, especially when they would be sitting right next to the track with the camera, and they'd really nobody would talk over it, and you'd hear the bikes just pulling up the mountain or pulling up the hills. And that's why I was wondering, it's like, okay, did they put the 5 in for everywhere else except the start? Not that he got a bad start, but it just seems like at some point there, to your exact concept, right? There's a point of diminishing returns. We have so much horsepower, but it's not usable. We've seen factory guys detune the bike.
Well, we remember all the stories. I wasn't there, but all the stories. Eli Tomac gets on KTM, is the only one that can handle beast mode, and said, "Give me all the power that you want." And then he comes to Anaheim with less horsepower, no paddle tire, smoother on the gas, riding more Lawrence-ish. They're the code name for that, for being smooth. But you had Bale and you had Bailey, you had all Lachine, very, very well connected to the back tire in the day. Joel Robert, whatever. But now everybody's like, "Oh, I'm outside. I got to go with max power," which I did on 250s, but on 500s, I had to bring it down a little bit because what I found myself, we looked at the map, I was only using the first 30%. But you can hear Deegan scream the shit out of it. I mean, he's twisting the throttle. But what happens is now you're taking it to, I'm just going to use 80 horsepower. I don't know what they have. They could have 100. It's irrelevant. But when you rev the bike to its peak RPM, let's say it's 10,000 RPM. I don't know what the red line is on those anymore. Let's say you rev it 10 grand and you drop the clutch. You're shocking the system. You're shocking the bike back. You're shocking it out. You're doing there's a lot going on. Where the Lawrence brothers are, and they roll and they're smooth and they roll it on, and then they you rarely see it, and I don't think that was a throttle issue with what happened to Hunter, but they're smooth and they roll the power on, and they're getting better traction. What is traction control? When it breaks, it retards the motor and then slows it down from getting wheel spin. And so when I started doing this, I'm like, no, I know when it breaks loose. And James Lynn, who's the engineer that designed this whole system, says, "I know, Ricky, but you don't understand. You can't correct it until you lose it." And I'm like, you know what? You're right. He says, "This will correct it before it happens. You physically can't feel it get loose and adjust the throttle until you get sideways. But this can." And so I would go and I'd hear the motor bog, and I'm like, it's slow. And so God rest his soul, a guy that I used to coach and race against, Mike Walser, he wanted a gazillion horsepower. He just loved it. He was this guy from Texas, and he built motors, and he's like, "Oh, I love this." So we took him on a sand wash. I said, "Okay, Mike, I'm over there." And I said, "Okay, ready, go." Boom, I hit the stopwatch and I go and I'm watching. I'm like, "All right, let's go back." I put it on yellow. So it's like, it's bogging, And I said, "Okay, ready, go." And it goes through there. Get to the other side. I said, "How'd that feel?" He goes, "Felt like crap. The thing was slow, it was bogging." I go, "You're 5 seconds faster."
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Yep.
5 seconds. I go, so people mistake the bog. Now, a lot of bog is bad. Like,
Sure.
Like if you're completely out of the power band, that's not good. But when you hear any kind of track, any kind of pull on the motor, what does that mean? That means traction. Traction is pulling into the motor. That's pulling the motor down, and you're getting traction coming out. You don't hear the Lawrence brothers. You don't hear that. You get because it doesn't. You're not on a 250 where if you land and you gas it, it's going to fall out of the power band. Right. Power band is like this on 450. So you start here and just and it pulls forward. So that's what I'm saying. I think you have to work on the rider. You have to work on the motor. And I had a situation in a 500 race where I crashed and smashed my pipe in practice, and I started going faster than I ever rode. I thought, well, man, I must have knocked something loose in my head or something like that. Came in, my pipe was full. They went to change it. I'm like, leave it. Take this pipe home and dyno it. This is the power that I want. If I could still have that, let's say 80 horsepower, it was just further onto the throttle. It wasn't the first 10%. But our ego goes, this feels fast, so I need to ride it fast. No, you need to, whatever's fast, I don't care if it sounds bad, if it looks bad, whatever, if it's more function over fashion. And so, anyhow.
Well, you mentioned JMB, right? I mean, how many times did it look like he was the slowest guy on the track? And then all of a sudden you get the qualifying time and you're like, dadgum, the guy's the fastest guy out there.
Well, and every time they went back to Deegan, I'm like, how is anyone going faster than him?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's ripping, but it's his transitions. It is where when he pulls the trigger, he goes. But that little transition before, and the transition of coming in, braking, and turning, and then every time he's doing that, imagine adding an extra 250-pound row.
Yeah.
Every time you
cracks it. Yeah.
Even if you're not rolling it all the way in, you're holding it. And you're using all this muscle, and the kid is unbelievably physical. He's unbelievably fit. He works his ass off, but you just can't do it. You gotta box with these guys. You gotta change. Go back and watch Rocky. He could bang against Apollo Creed, but then we got Clubber. Mr. T. If you try to, he got smashed, and this goes back to Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and Ken Norton. Ken Norton smashed Frazier as a banger, but then Ali came around as a boxer and knocked out George Foreman. You see what I mean? So you can't just keep bringing the same tool. So we've talked a lot about that. We've kind of derailed and went on a big Deegan rant, but yeah, I hate that Hunter has lost the gap again, and this is a little bit. I mean, that was he went from a 15-point gain to a 10-point deficit. No,
let's go back to Deegan for just a moment, not to get too far over the front of our skis. We remember watching Deegan on that 250 in Supercross. He would do a Cooper Webb. He'd take that middle line, and he looked like he was on a monorail. He was so fast. I cannot wait to see him on a 450. When he gets that lean angle and he gets that inside leg up, so many people, we always think about the outside leg, and I think Deegan is one of the best. I talk about it in my performance camps all the time. That inside leg's got to be pushing up as hard as the outside leg is pushing down. And when you do, the frame gets immediate input and it tracks straight. His corner speed, and I cannot wait to watch him on a 450. It's just, I think it's going to be a better fit.
Who?
Deegan.
Deegan's on a 450.
No, in Supercross last year he was on 250.
I
can't wait to see him.
I'm like, what are you watching?
No, I'm sorry. The fact that
Unadilla 2026.
I cannot wait to see him on a 450 because his corner speed on that 250 was sick. I mean,
I know, but see, it's not the same bike.
No, it's not. I'm just curious to see.
Right. But if you attack it, so Ivan Tedesco had this problem, Blake Baggett had this problem. There's been a whole bunch of guys that try to bring the 250 style to a 450. It doesn't work. You know why? Because when that thing hits, there's a reason. One's a 250, one's a 450. That piece of dynamite is twice as big. And so when you gas it like that, it changes everything. You have to attack it completely different. And that's the thing. If he brings his 250 style, it's going to be even worse. I
understand that. But do you think that he'll be able to be like Ken Roxon in the corners where Ken just looks like he's riding a 125? He just makes, like you say, he's using that deliverable 450 power, but his corner speed is it's like poetry in motion. I'm not saying he'll ride it like the 250, but man, how fun is it going to be if we see that type of corner speed from Deegan on the 450 indoors?
I think we're at the absolute limit of corner speed. We're like in MotoGP, or where you see the guys dragging their shoulders.
Yeah.
Kenny Roberts brought in dragging his knee, then they're dragging the elbow. Now they're leaning over so far and holding on so tight, and with the power and with the tires and everything, they're dragging their shoulder. And then what happens? Something happens. Poof! It goes. The performance curve goes great. Go 1% too far, and he gets massive. We're watching the absolute best in the world with the Lawrences and everybody else, and now Prado's right there. And no, you can't go faster. There's a certain rule in physics. You can only go so fast through the corner. And trust me, if there was a way to go faster through the corner, the Lawrences would be doing it.
Absolutely.
Between Johnny O'Mara cars right there. Their father's right there. They watch and they do everything. So you you can't hammer it any harder. It's just it's not possible.
Do you think we're at a point where we should make the bike smaller? Like make a 350 be the biggest? No?
That should have been done a long time ago. Um,
Right. But like you
I
say,
think
when we look at the attrition rate, we look at the first turn carnage and all that. And to your point, we're at that upper end where we can't really go much faster. Should we downsize, in your opinion?
it's not going to hurt racing. But here's the thing, like I go, man, I can't believe these guys are riding these 450s with that much horsepower, as aggressive as they are. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty nuts. It's a much more rideable power than our 500s. But when we had the massive explosive power of the 500s, but we had the problem with the wanting to stall, and there
Yeah.
was other issues that I didn't like the 500 as much as I like the 250. So it wouldn't hurt, but the problem is that no matter what you give these guys, if you give them 1,000, they're going to figure a way to make it work. Because why?
Sure.
We can change the mapping, we can do all this different stuff, and it's crazy how fast they're going. Like I was
Yeah.
watching the girls. Don't get me wrong, I was watching the girls out there. They look like they're in slow motion. If you put you and I on the track against those girls, they would lap us.
Mm-hmm.
They're hauling ass. But when you compare them to the absolute best in the world of Prado and Lawrence brothers and Deegan and Marchbanks and on down the line, it's like, why are they going so slow? Like
Yeah.
I did a lap when they put me into the Unadilla Hall of Fame. I rode around. I just had my jeans on. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna crash. I was like, where can I go off to the side? I don't want. There's like everybody in the first lap of Supercross. I was trying to avoid the whoops. I'm like, I'm just gonna ride around the water truck lane. Screw this. I'm gonna hurt myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you know what?
It's
Better yet,
funny.
why don't you? Oh, something happened. My bike broke. I'm just gonna wait. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's ironic you bring that up because that corner where, pardon me, where Deegan jumped in front of Jett, that corner right there, if you watch the girls, they come out of that, pardon me, they come out of that left-hander and they're not able to get that big send down. And you just realize, man, those girls rip. And then you watch the 250s and they're, halfway down. And then you see the 450s and they just freaking, it's just unbelievable. But to your point, it gives you perspective on being able to see all three stages of that, just what I would consider, compared to everything else on the track, a nice little left-hander with a little bit of a step down as you go.
but this is where I appreciate what they're doing. I'm not
Mhm.
sitting there going, well, back in our day, we had 500s and it was so much faster and blah, blah. It's a known fact. A 500 two-stroke is faster in a straight line than a 450. I watched Jeff Ward at Mammoth get on one of those Hondas with a CR450 motor.
Yeah.
He had everybody to the first turn by like 45 yards. I mean, he destroyed everybody. He was in fourth place by the end of the first lap. He was in 10th place because the thing's vibrating and the head shake, and it was in that aluminum frame Honda, one of those service Hondas, and it's not as rideable. So it's
Hmm.
not good overall. But so my point of this is that when I watch these guys, I'm so impressed how they are manhandling this uh, piece of dynamite in their hands. I mean, they are
Yeah.
riding the crap out of these 450s. So they're because if anyone wants to change it, like why? The riders aren't having trouble with it, and they're not. They don't in
Right.
Supercross. They don't in this. I think if you put them all on 250s for Supercross, we'd have better racing because there'd be more inside passing and stuff. It wouldn't be as swoopy,
Yeah.
but overall, no one's going to go faster than that 450. And
Hmm.
also now starts are so damn important. They're not gonna take that power away.
Let's move to our second subject, which is a good segue on the starts. 250 class. Once again, it seems like nobody wants to win this class. Cole Davies seems to be the most consistent, with a 2-1. But outside of that, it's like, I guess my question to you is going to be a little bit twofold. Thoughts on the 250 class, and what do you think we're going to do for designations? Because obviously, we're not quite sure. We just kind of finished up on the 450s, but top American. And then you look at the 250s. I mean, after first moto, you go, gosh, Levi all day, right? Comes from back, goes all the way to the front. And then second moto, you're like, we're back to Levi again. You're not sure what you're going to get. I know you said a couple weeks ago, you think that he's one of the best at being able to bounce back from disappointment, but man, we just can't seem to get an American 250 guy. I've got to give props to Hymas. Hymas looked really good, consistent.
But then he
What
goes
says
down
you?
again. I mean, so if on the 250 class, one
Yeah.
is um, one thing I wish that everybody would talk to their PR guys. I had a talk with Denny Stevenson. I remember when Denny Stevenson won his first 125 race. I know I'm dating myself. And his dad was on the podium. His dad was crying. He was crying. I was crying. I'm on the starting
Mm.
line watching this, and I'm just seeing them win and just the emotion. And but then Denny won like 3 races in a row or something like that. And so we were in Tampa, and that's when I found out that I had non-union in my hand, and I couldn't race. And so I sat up in there and whined. I drank a couple beers and this and that. And so then I went to the bar after, and I saw Denny Stevenson win, and he's like, yeah, real casual. And his dad's like, knuckle bob, and I grabbed them. I didn't grab them, but I went to Don, uh, Denny's dad, at the bar afterward, and I said, please don't get mundane and think that this is going to be like this forever. I said that the emotion that you guys showed when you guys when you won your first race, treat every race like that. Treat every race like that. And when it's second, I know it burns. I know it burns because it's like it's the first loser.
Yep.
But you're still second place. You're not 40th. What do you think? How happy would Hunter be if he could have snapped his fingers and said, I'm going to get second? He would be on the podium going, woohoo, I got second. I didn't lose points. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But this is kind of our society. If we're not winning, everything sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw in the first moto, yes, have some emotion. And we saw um, Cole Davies. But dude, you're representing your sponsors, you're representing your factories, all of this stuff, and you get up there and just go, yeah, it sucks, you change it, and walk off. Didn't thank a sponsor, didn't thank anybody, didn't congratulate. It's like, don't be a whiny bitch. Not just him, but everybody. It's like, I got second. I got this. I got that. Man, my bike was great. We're going to make some small changes. The tire was unbelievable, but I might tweak that a little bit. Thank the people. The reason that you're there is to represent your family, your family, your sponsors, and so on down the line. But
Sure.
the little whiny pricks, if the only time they show an ounce of emotion is if they win, I'm like, I'm over it. I'm like, I don't even want to watch their podium. I want to hear something. I want Jett to bring out donuts. I want Deegan to say something crazy. And I know that they're tired of getting beat up on social media. And so that I say this to everybody that says something bad about them on Monday about what they said on the podium. They're human beings. Let them say stupid stuff. Let them do this. But I go back to watching MotoGP and I watch Formula One. I watch the stuff. These guys are stoked on the podium. They're spraying the champagne. They're like, I'm there. I'm a F1 guy. I got points in the championship.
Yeah.
But here it's like, if I don't win, yeah, whatever, and I'm gone. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So back to that is to the 250s. I gotta say, man, Kitchen is that sucker is resilient. Like he could
Mm-hmm.
take a beating and he comes back and he has a good moto and a bad moto. Hymas, I'm like, okay, he's in. He's making the bridge, but he has something between that and the finish. I think he
Yeah.
needs to do some visualization during the week, not during the race, during the week of seeing himself start, seeing himself finish, seeing himself start, seeing him finish, and not have a dirty jersey in the process. Uh, Levi, phenomenal in the first moto, and then whatever happens in the second moto. But that also goes back to the starts of everybody's got an advantage to be there. But yeah, he's showing me if we're going to talk about donations, which we're going to talk about that, or who we should pick. I think Kitchens is the guy that can take the beating and have those chances of a spectacular win, or
Yep.
a spectacular finish, and also being resilient and working his way through the pack. I think the other Hymas Di Francisco Ryder D, I think they need to rely on a better start. You're not going to get a good start. Just know this. You are
Right.
going to suck in the first turn because you're against a half gate of 450s, and you hope to be up there with your guys in the back and to take the
Yep.
beating. So it's a different kind of race, but I think Levi's our best shot.
This is something that blows my mind, and I'm taking my eyes off the camera because I'm reading the points here. I miss the days when 2-1 you had 3 points. So you have Cole Davies, he wins with a 2-1, so there's 3. You have Levi Kitchen goes second with a 1-6 with 7. Then you have Chance Hymas, goes 4-2 with 6, and he ends up with third. And then you've got Carson Mumford who goes 3-4, and he gets fourth. So you've got Levi that goes 1-6 for 7. You have Carson that goes 3-4 with 7. And one gets second and one gets fourth. I hate this point system. And we have to give a shout out to Carson Mumford. Dude's killing it. Went 3-4.
Oh, he was ripping.
Dude, he's on fire.
He looked phenomenal. Yeah, they dipped the wheel and went over and all this stuff.
And I don't know if you heard RJ, but he actually had a couple factory offers, and he chose to stay with AEO. He signed a 2-year extension with those guys, actually.
Good for him.
I just, and his exact words were, he wanted to thank, to your point exactly, he wanted to thank those that, when the Geico program folded, he wanted to thank the team who gave him another chance. And now he's not leaving them for another 2 years. And I heard the offers were pretty good. It says a lot about his character. I hope he gets credit for it.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't, and you won't. And this sport is so short. And if you talk to Brock Glover, his mistake was not leaving Yamaha when he had the opportunity to go to Honda. If Brock would have went to Honda, I think the record books would be completely different. I think if I would have went in 82, the record books would be different. But that just is what it is. I commend somebody for being loyal and saying, "Hey, they stuck behind me."
Yep.
But kid, your career is this long. Even if you have a long career, even if you have John Dowd's career or Mike LaRocco's career, it's still this long.
Yeah.
You're even though you've been riding since you were 2 and done the Loretta Lynn's and done all that crazy stuff, and you're racing nationals, you're doing this, and you race 450 and you have the longest start record and this and that. You're 34 years old, 35 years old. You have more life of not being a racer left than you do of what you had. So you have to go what's best for you. You have to be selfish, and go, I think you need to go, what bike can I win on? You don't just jump for money. All right. Because if you could talk to the heart of hearts of Sexton, would he go, I should have stayed at Honda. That was my biggest mistake. I should have stayed there. Yep. Or is he like, screw it? They're giving me more money. They're giving me more money. They're giving me more money. Jeff Ward was very loyal to Kawasaki. I was Yamaha as long as I could. It was the race at Unadilla where my fork stuck. If you watch the 85, you watch me come up the hill. I'm leading, and I come down, and they kind of stick, and then I go over the bars. Watch me walk back to the bike. That was when I was done.
You could tell.
I've told them there's Olean's upside down forks out there that we could use. They're just doing it because they're trying to prove a point, and I'm the one suffering from losing the point. So I guess what I'm getting at, try not to make it about me again, which I always seem to do that. My wife says that, tell me about me. But is you have to go what's going to give you the opportunity to win. Because if you win, the money will come. Don't leave because of money. Leave because the performance isn't right and because of that. It's like so that's my feel. So I think it's great that he's loyal. But man, if I had if Factory Honda was one of those offers.
Well, I think part of what's influencing it is that team is going to Husky and is going to get that Husky factory support. So I think there might be some bonus money that's coming in behind there, plus better equipment. So like you say, you've been down this road so many times. There's a lot of nuances that are in the small print. So
yeah, there's stuff that we can't see. So anyhow,
that's what drives me nuts though. A guy goes 1-6 and gets second for 7 points. Then you have Carson Mumford goes 3-4 for 7 and he ends up fourth, then you have Chance that goes 4-2 and ends up third.
So the way we've always the way it used to be, maybe it's changed, is that there's a 3 point gap between first and second. So you get an extra point for winning than you do on down. Isn't that the way it is?
I'd have to go look it up closely because, to be honest
So
with
it
you, I
used to
never
be
look at that.
25,
Yep.
22, 20, 18, da 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 da. And then it got down, I think, down at the very bottom at 1 point. And the second moto was always the decider. So if you went 1, 2, 2, 1, the whoever won the second moto is the decider.
Yep.
In points for the week, it doesn't change. You get the trophy, you get the bonus, you get all that. But when it comes to the championship, the points are the same. So
Yeah,
that's the thing.
too.
All this who finished where, whatever, but the points should balance out to be in the same. And the second moto is the decider. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if we go back to your subject on designations, so if you think Levi's the solid choice for 250, most everybody agrees that on the 450 side, we'd have Deegan in there. Who do you go with next? Next, if we go off this weekend, Marchbanks was fourth. Then you've got RJ. Then we go all the way down to J. Coop, who's making his way back. Then Barsha, Tomac, Webb. Who's your second 450 rider?
But I think, well,
if Deegan goes, that's a big what if.
There you go. There, you just said it. If Deegan goes. So now for the Deegan camp, do they want to spend that time and energy and money to go to France to where it's not a good chance they're going to win? It's going to be really hard. I'm saying I would go because I want one more chance to try to beat the best and all this stuff. I want to go after Hurlings and the guys over in Europe and all that. But for Deegan and their camp, are they going to go, you know what? We're going to stay home and start practicing Supercross. We're going to start putting our time in and try different stuff on the bike and try different suspension, try different power, try different riding techniques, all the different things. And that gives him, because it's not just one weekend. Right. It's not just, it's not like the Coonan brothers. Oh, I'm just going to go to America and race a weekend and go. No, you have to get ready. So Arnay is a hard packed track. So you can't train in Florida. You need to come to California, find hard pack, do this, do that, get yourself ready, then travel to Europe. You're there for a couple weeks, getting ready to go. Like Roger would always take us over a week and a half before. We'd get our bikes, we'd find a track, we'd all practice together, we'd all work together, and then so we knew what the dirt was like there, kind of, even though it was a different place. It might be some farmer's field in the middle of nowhere, it might be the Majora Airport track, but we got into the flow, you know what I mean, of the European track. And so with that, I think there's a good chance that Deegan's going to go, I'm not going. I got to get ready for Supercross. And now what? So I know it's the obvious choice because he's the one getting third. But when he says no, then what? If he says no, I don't know. I'm saying I might, if I was his trainer in the big picture, donations doesn't mean anything to me as a rider, but it means a lot to the world and all the different stuff. There's a good chance he's going to sit it out.
Well, the other thing, and I know we're about out of time here, the one thing that I always say is the teams, right? Because we know Cowie has never gotten behind. I mean, the last time I can remember Cowie being there was when Villopoto won on a 250. And I don't know if that's Cowie or if that was Pro Circuit. Obviously, it was stateside, so that made it a little bit, it was all PC, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what typically what you do is you find the importer, like Sylvain Gabors was and Whitlock was the main team manager in Europe at the time. I think it was his name, Bill Whitlock. And so Roger would communicate with him because Gabors and Thorpe and Malherbe and that was the factory team in Europe. We would send our stuff to Belgium. We would get the stuff from Belgium because it was very centrally located, and we'd take it to wherever. It didn't matter. Wherever in Europe, we were based out of there. We'd have our trucks, and then we would go. So Cowie does the same thing. They find their importer, their factory team, and they work with them. So you work in conjunction with it, but now it's just weird. Like all the factory Honda guys are together. All the factory KTM guys together. You got a Belgian flag, a British flag, an American flag, and all this crazy stuff. I don't like it. I want him I want him the guys that I'm going to battle with. You don't see football players hanging out on the other side of the field. You don't see
Yeah.
soccer players hanging out on their end of the field. You're with your team. When they come off, you're charging them up. Man, we did great. These guys go to a truck and they never know if their teammate is stoked for them or
Yeah.
nothing. You know, and
Well, I guess that's the
sorry I
part that
can't keep
confuses me
track, but
because
I'm just visualizing.
well, we know Cowie's 450 program, they're not behind Des Nations. They haven't been for years. So immediately that takes Marchbanks off the table. I think Mitch would be willing to take Levi if that was to be the case. Then you're back to the 450s. You've got RJ that's going to Ducati, so I don't see him. He's going to want to shake that bike down like you're saying with Deegan. Give it a little bit more time to take a couple weeks off, catch your breath, start focusing on Supercross bike setup. So you've got RJ going to a new team. You've got Malcolm going to a new team. You got Plessinger going to a new team. So then we're back to the only person that's on the same bike would be Tomac. Tomac doesn't seem to be in the best of shape right now. Just
But
going
I
off
don't
results.
also for which Eli looked a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I think he looked a lot better. But I think once again his focus is going to be on Supercross,
Well,
and
he
this is
doesn't
the
look
way.
like a world beater. Would you agree? He doesn't look like a world beater right now, Tomac.
No, and that track is a hard, slick track, which is not doesn't favor Eli's riding style.
Well,
He
and then you've got Cooper Webb. He's going to Tedder. So as I go down this list of Americans that are available, Deegan, like you said, probably not. Garrett on Cowie, probably not. RJ going to Ducati, probably not. Justin Cooper, he's on Star, but he's coming back off of injury. Justin Barsha probably won't have a ride or goes to Europe. Tomac's not a world beater. Cooper Webb's going to Tedder, and now we're top
but
10 of the Americans.
typically, and he's not doing it lately, is Justin Cooper gets good starts. He hasn't been getting
Mm-hmm.
good starts lately, but he typically does.
Yep.
And he's also been to Europe. He's won in America. He knows what it's like to have. He knows that support. He knows that pressure. So here he goes. But my question to you is that do you and I, as American fans, because that's where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what I did. It doesn't matter what you're doing. We're
Mm-hmm.
sitting there going, I'm American. I
Mm-hmm.
got American flags over there from war
Love it.
heroes that I have in my thing. I I represented my country proudly, all the different stuff. Does anybody care as much as we do? I mean,
I think fans wise we do.
I know
And
the
and
fans
this
do,
is
but do the factories? Are the factories just like screw
yeah.
it? If because here's the thing, if you could say to somebody, and if I said it to you, okay, I can give you a gold medal in Motocross of Nations, all right, MX of Nations now, um, or but that's going to sacrifice. You're going to get third in Supercross next year, or you can win Supercross and not go to the Nations. What are you going to do? You're going to
Yeah,
not go to the nations. Supercross is more important to
sure.
to the world and to you as a rider. I don't know if do they even get bonus for that?
Not
We know
that's
that we didn't get money.
yeah, that's my understanding that they don't. And obviously you have some insiders that may reach out to you and tell you that we're wrong, and I'd like to be wrong. But we have two separate issues. We have the ability to represent your country and what that would mean, and then you have the economics of it from both a rider and a manufacturing standpoint. Then you have us fans that were like, you know, and you'll always get the people that say, well, if we don't have a chance to win, why go? And like you say, because of the pride, let's go. But then the season is so long, especially when you're changing colors of bikes. If we look at it from all different angles as a rider, if you're changing colors of bike, of course you're going to want to shake that bike down. We saw Tomac do World Supercross for that exact reason, and it worked out really well.
That's the
But
thing. So you have a better chance of these guys going. You know what? I'll go do a couple World Supercross rounds and ride Supercross ish. You know, it's a
and
different
make
track.
money and make money.
Well, make money, yes, but it gave Eli a chance to go ride a KTM in a stadium. It's different when
Yep.
you go in the stadium, even though the dirt's different, the jumps are different, the track builders are different. It is different, but it's it's still rutted tight corners and
Yep.
whoops and this and that. So it's still the same thing. So yeah, it's tough, and I don't know. you don't know what they're thinking. And honestly, the American promoters have designed it this way, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but they still want, oh, but wait a minute, no, don't, but represent our country and go there and look good. Well, then why do you beat us up so much all year long? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because, and they have to. Here's why. The guys from the World Supercross and started Australian Supercross,
Yeah.
then went world, then they got the World Supercross. Then all of a sudden now we have Super Motocross. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to prevent our American riders from going over there, and that chance of this is just business.
Right.
It's just business,
Yep.
and nothing against Fell or anything. They're doing what they have to do. They have to protect their entity. And their entity is the American Riders and the Supercross Championship. And Davey Coombs has the Outdoor Championship. Now, because we had a little bit of a feud from them a while back. Now they're together.
Yeah.
So wow, that becomes a massive force. And now we're taking 2 weeks off to support Loretta Lynn's, to support the other Coombs race, which once again, great for the riders. Then, but where do most of them go? To Loretta Lynn's,
Yeah.
on their weekend off, they go down there in that sweat box because that's good business. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything underhanded. They're
Exactly.
not the mafia. They're not this. They're not that. But what they're doing is they're trying to structure the business and trying to the balance of if we don't keep these riders racing here, they go over there. But
Sure.
but they don't bitch about going over there because oh, I'm so tired. They have so many races. They have so much this. They have so much that. But then there's start money, and I can go over and make a quick couple $100,000 and buy a new Ferrari or whatever, a new Bentley or whatever the hell they're buying nowadays. Why? Because I did it.
Yeah.
I would buy a new ski boat. I did, but
Yeah.
this is back when ski boats were 30 grand, not 130 grand. So you know what I
Right.
mean. So I understand it, and so the American promoters need to go. You know what? Let's give them more opportunity to make money here, more bonus money, more championship money. They put over $1 million into the Super Motocross Championship. Now you got Ken Roxon getting ready to come back. You got Jett Lawrence who sat out Supercross. Now he's going to come back. So now we're going to see everybody back in the game again. The tracks are slightly different. It's a 4 race deal. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm excited to watch it.
Oh, I can't wait because it's you saw like last year. I mean, Hunter lost it in the third moto. I mean, it came down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great series all the way, and it's delivering on exactly what it's been built up. We're seeing it in the triathlon world now. You have the pro triathlon series, and it's a race of points behind the scenes, which is accumulated points, which is money bonuses at the end, just like just like Super Motocross. So I'm
Right.
beyond excited about it.
But the
And
riders don't complain when they have to do multiple races that they want to do.
right,
They complain about when they do races that they have to do.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Well,
so it's
I struggle with it because you've been wanting to be a pro since you were 10 years old, and you knew that it was going, and especially when it went to the Super Motocross. If you were a pro, let's say, and I'll use Cooper Webb as an example, and all of a sudden he gets word that Feld and MX Sports have merged, he doesn't have 2, 3 years to rebuild himself physically to go 10 months of racing. Think about that physiologically, right? You had your Supercross series, then you had a little bit of a break, and then you got ready for outdoors. Then you had enough time to do an off-season build that built the strength to go the next 12 months. Well, when that window was lost, so if you were an athlete that was 14, 15 years old and you could go pro at 17, 18, you had 3 years to get your body built to race for 10 months. So to your point exactly,
well,
I have a hard time, like Mitch Payton says, you'll never be wealthier than when you get paid to race a dirt bike because you get paid to train, travel, race, and repeat. You get paid for everything. You don't pay for bikes. You don't pay for travel. So
well, as I said, when I raced all the time.
yeah,
When I was a kid, I raced on Wednesday night, I raced on Saturday, I raced on Sunday, I raced every chance that I could, and then I would running, cycling, lifting weights, doing everything that I thought I could do.
yeah,
It was a 24/7, 12 month a year, 52 weeks a year. It didn't matter. So when I would take a couple weeks off just to recharge my battery a little bit every now and then, But then it's like, I need to go racing because that's what we do. And that's what
Yeah.
amateurs are doing. And that's what all these guys are doing. As I said, the money and the pressure and the level, the level of pro right now is unreal. It's unreal, and now we're starting to see the pace is back at the pace where guys are dropping the last couple laps.
Yeah.
We heard it from the Australian guy. I can't remember his name. We heard it from a lot of these guys. We heard it was inside with Prado. It's like to hold on to that bike at that level. And that's what I'm saying. The smoothness of the Lawrences, they're able to conserve an ounce of energy in 10 spots. Next thing you know, they got a little more energy, a little more energy, a little more energy. So that they found a way to do it to be there at the end of the moto. Because if you look at them, they're not like these physical gnarly guys.
Monsters. Yeah. No,
They
exactly.
flow. They're cardio animals. They flow. They do their thing. So yeah,
Very efficient.
we can, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, and we can guess and think of what these guys are going to do. But as soon as I go one way, I put myself in their trainers in themselves shoe. For Deegan, it's more important for him to get ready for that. For me as an American, I'm going to be pissed off if he doesn't come represent our country.
Yep.
But if I'm on Team Deegan, I'm like, this is what's more important. And so if you're an American, you don't care about who it is anymore. That's
Sure.
what the crappy part about war, but the beautiful side of it, as soon as it brings us together.
Yep.
So now there's not let's say a Plessinger fan, there's not a Deegan fan, there's not a Hampshire fan, there's not a Justin Cooper, Cooper Webb fan. It doesn't matter. We're Americans. We're winning as Americans.
Yeah.
All right. But if it's my camp, and it's, if you take Deegan, he's got Swanepoel as his riding coach. Brian's doing this. I don't know who's doing his nutrition, all the different stuff. We're going Supercross is the ultimate goal that we've always wanted.
Sure.
He's wanted ever since he started to be a 450 Supercross champion. Are you going to take a chance of sacrificing that? Or let me throw another wrench in it. If he goes over there and whips everybody's ass, what's that going to do to his confidence to come back to Supercross? So you see what I mean?
Oh yeah.
No matter what, there's a point counterpoint. No matter what, there's always, well, but what if? But what if? But what if? But what if? But the thing, I just hope that we represent, and we fight a good fight. And that's all we do. And if whoever wins, if it's Belgium, France, Australia, blah, 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 you be the first one to go congratulate them and go, good job, congratulations. And take your silver medal if you get it, which is unbelievable. Take your bronze medal if you get it. There was a bunch of pouty faces, at Ironman when America was up there for second. And I said, guys, what's with the long face? You got second. Yeah, I know. You're on American soil and you want to win first, this, that. There's only 3 teams up here. You know how many teams are out there going, if I could just get a medal
Top
from
30,
that year.
Yeah.
And they fought great, and Cooper did great, and everybody did fantastic. Eli rode his ass off, and
Perspective's everything, isn't it? Perspective's everything.
Exactly, 100%.
Well, brother, I really appreciate you making this time every week. I know you're super busy. I appreciate all these subject matters.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this upcoming weekend. It's going to come down to the wire. And then, like you say, then we're into World Supercross, then we're into the finals there, those final 4. So it'll be good. Definitely appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody watching. And we will catch up with you guys next week. Peace.